Hello, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. I think Rick's going to jump on, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got, so tonight we're going to talk about, the Alicia Kerwin testimony. This is from the Darren Lee book. I believe it's called Alicia Kerwin something. Something with Alicia Kerwin in it. It's really super hard to find. I should have looked up the name of the book, but I'll try to link it in the comments for you. But this testimony is quite enlightening. Drop a little something if y'all can hear me and see me, because you know I'm really stupid on this stuff. For real. So I'm going to be reading from my binder, and then I'm going to try to slide the slides over on the screen so y'all can see it as well. So let me know if y'all can see and hear, because there's nothing on the comments so far. So I'll just kind of chill a little bit until I see somebody talking, because I don't want to start reading until people start responding. Can anybody see me and hear me? Okay, we're just going to get started. Okay, so this is from, hi, Melissa, thank you. I wasn't going to just sit here and read and have no one responding. Okay, so this is Alicia Kerwin for the record, and this is the raw transcription for clarity's sake. So you're going to have it on the screen so you can kind of read along. I tried to make it bigger so I didn't have to use my binder, but I'm blind, so I'm just going to slide it on along with you. Hi, Natalie. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Evangelo. Hi, Andreas. So this is the statement of Alicia C. Kerwin, female, white, age 23, residence. It goes into all the details. This is from the Dr. Nick deposition in the 1980 testimony, or 1980 court case. So E.L. Hutchinson is who is questioning her. And he just goes through this very first page as kind of where you were born, where did you graduate, just the familiarities with her. The next page is where she talks about George Klein getting a hold of her to meet Elvis. So George Klein had told Alicia, he said that he was upset. He and his girlfriend had had a fight. That's what it was. Hutchinson, and he was referring to Elvis. Kerwin, right. Hutchinson, did you know who his girlfriend was at the time? Kerwin, it was Ginger Alden. Hutchinson, what actually did George Klein want you to do? Kerwin, just go up there and talk with Elvis, to meet him, to be introduced. Hutchinson, would you explain to the best of your ability and knowledge, this is 1976. Do you recall what month? Kerwin, it was 77. And then she adds in April. In April of 77, would you explain your first meeting with Elvis Presley? And I've got kids cooking food, so you're probably going to hear a lot of stuff happening in the background. Kerwin, I went up to the house. They let me in the gate. Hutchinson, were you accompanied by Klein? Kerwin, no, he didn't come. Hutchinson, okay. Kerwin, I told him I would rather go by myself. I drove my car. It was at night, about 10 o'clock at night, I remember. And I went up to the house and I met his daughter. I know his daughter was there. I talked to a woman named Joanna Smith. She was a very good friend of Elvis's. We talked for a long time, and then she took me upstairs. Hi, Amy, to meet him, like in his room. And there were a lot of people in the room. Let me make sure I've got you on the right page. Yeah. Hutchinson, do you recall any people that you recognize by name or face in the room? Kerwin, Joe Smith, Charlie Hodge, those are the two I can remember, but there were quite a few other people. And they were fixing to go on tour, so it was hectic, very hectic. We just talked. I stayed maybe for 2 hours, and then I went home. Hutchinson, and you did, of course, meet Elvis. Kerwin, yeah. Hutchinson, and did you have any conversation with Elvis Presley by yourself? Kerwin, for about an hour. We just talked. He just asked what I did, how old was I, what I did for fun, you know, the normal things you would talk to someone about when you meet him. Hutchinson, in your first observation in meeting of Elvis Presley, did you notice anything about his behavior that was odd? Kerwin, no, not the first time. He was very much a gentleman. Of course he was such a gentleman. That's our guy. Hutchinson, all right. Was he tight or appeared to be in conversation like we're having right now? Kerwin, it was very relaxed and very comfortable. It wasn't strained. It was very comfortable. Hutchinson, what about his physical appearance? Kerwin, he was a little heavy, but other than that, very good. Hutchinson, how about his eyes and speech? Kerwin, his speech wasn't slurry. It was slow, but it was not slurred, and he seemed to be in very good spirits after the conversation. Thank you, Monica, and thank you for being here. Hutchinson, do you recall what part of the house that this took place? Kerwin, upstairs. Hutchinson, was it in his bedroom? Kerwin, his bedroom, sitting room, it's all in one. Hutchinson, did you go in his bedroom? I mean, come on, Hutchinson. She's telling you like it's literally in the bedroom. So yeah, she was in his bedroom. Kerwin says, uh-huh. Hutchinson, while you were there, did you notice any medications? Kerwin, no, I didn't. I didn't notice any. Hutchinson, while you were there on this first visit in April of 77, did at any time during the hour of conversation, the personal conversation that you had alone with Elvis, did he take any type of medication? Alicia, no, he didn't. Hutchinson, you stayed about 2 hours? Kerwin, I guess. I wasn't there, but maybe 2 hours. Hutchinson, and you never observed any type of medicine? Kerwin, no, I never saw any. So then he goes on to ask her about Elvis's demeanor. She says it was fine. And remember, he's trying to set the stage for if Elvis was over medicated, what was going on at the time with Elvis. So he's re-asking a lot of the same questions. So she goes on to say the phone was ringing a lot. Let me go over to this one. We're actually on this one, I think. So he kind of re-asked for the same things on and on and on. And then he gets into business. Hutchinson, you said at the outset of this interview that George Klein advised you that Elvis was upset. Kerwin, he'd had a fight with his girlfriend, Ginger Alden. Hutchinson, more or less despondent, is that correct? Kerwin, right. Hutchinson, you didn't observe that when you arrived? Kerwin, he seemed to be a little bit, but we talked about it a while, but after I'd been there, he was real relaxed and didn't seem to be bothered. Hutchinson, what did he say about his complications with his girlfriend? This was Ginger Alden, is that correct? Kerwin, right. I didn't ask. I didn't feel like it was any of my business. Hutchinson, but you said he said something about it. Kerwin, he said that they had an argument and that he didn't feel like he was going to see her anymore. This was April of 77. They had been dating for a while and he was upset. He felt like she was more or less after his money more than anything else. Hutchinson, were you told or did you find out that when you were there for the first time in April of 77, you say he was tight and it was kind of hectic, that there were people running around and papers strewn around. Did you know where he was going? Alicia, I know they were going on a tour, but I'm not sure which one it was. Hutchinson, exactly, Natalie. This lines up with pretty much everything else that has ever been said about that relationship. She knows they were going on a tour, but not which one. Hutchinson, no names of towns or anything like that were mentioned. And let me go over to the next one. Kerwin, not that I remember, because in the time I knew him, they went on several tours. So I couldn't, I could be confused. I couldn't say one town, and then it would probably been another one. Hutchinson, did you ever go on the tours? Kerwin, no. Hutchinson, all right, that was your first meeting. When was your second? Kerwin, 2 days later. Was this still in April of 77? Kerwin, yes. How did this meeting come to be? Kerwin, he called me. Hutchinson, what, you gave him your telephone number before you left? Alicia nods affirmatively. Hutchinson, what was the conversation? Kerwin, he wanted to know if I wanted to come over. Exactly. I don't know why some people in the Elvis circle have said Alicia lied, because this is a sworn deposition. One, given before the time of this girl ever thinking this would ever be on the internet, where we would ever have things like YouTube, where we could discuss these type of things, or that it would ever even end up in a book somewhere. So she had no reason to lie. So he calls her. He wanted to know if I wanted to come over, but I just told him I had just gotten home from work. Well, he always had someone to call me, and then he would get on the phone. No. This time he called himself. They had left a phone number with my roommate, and when I got home from work, I called this number back. Hutchinson, you didn't know what number it was? Kerwin, no. I assumed it was his number because he had just called the day before, and I wasn't home all day. So I called that number back, and he wanted me to come over. So several hours later, I went back over. It was the same thing. We sat and talked. I met Trish, which I think she means Tish, who was his nurse at the time. Hutchinson, Henley. Kerwin, right. I think that was her last name. Hutchinson, where was this meeting taking place? Kerwin, in his daughter's room. His room and her room are right next door. Hutchinson, well, was there an explanation why you met him there? Kerwin, they were in there talking. His daughter had left that day, and he was really despondent over his daughter leaving. She had gone back to be with her mother. Hutchinson, who was in the room with him? Tish. Hutchinson, just Tish? Kerwin, and they just talked with me, drinking ice water and speaking with me. Hutchinson, did you know the function of Tish Henley? Not really. Hutchinson, how did he introduce you to her? He just said, this is a friend of mine, Tish. When he made this call for the second visit, did he say why he wanted you to come over and talk? Kerwin, no, he didn't. Hutchinson, was it a case of being despondent? Kerwin, no. Hutchinson, he just wanted someone to chat with him, but you were never told the position of what Tish Henley was? Question. And then for some reason, I am missing a page of this. So she goes into him taking her on a trip. And I believe it was for, okay. He took her this was before he taken her to Palm Springs. He took you on a more or less tour of Graceland at this time. Kerwin, no, not really. And that's such a good point because it's very odd about her family. Like even there's just freakish circumstances around all of them. And all of her immediate family died really young as well. So I've tried to find people who could have immediately been connected to her, and you just can't find anybody. So he took her on she said, not really so much of a tour, just a few places. I'd already snooped all around before I went upstairs. I mean, that's our girl, right? Like I would snoop around too. While I was waiting, I'd already scoured the whole house. Miss Kerwin guiltily and cutely giggles. Hutchinson, was he somewhat out with you or irritated about you being late? Kerwin, not really. He didn't seem to be, but I could tell that he wasn't happy about it. But he didn't say anything. Hutchinson, what about his physical condition at this time? Was there any change from the first meeting? Kerwin, no. Hutchinson, was he still the same calm, collect type of an individual? Kerwin, yes, he was calm. Did you note at this time a slow response? Let me make sure I flipped appropriately for you all, and I did not. I'm so sorry. Okay. She said, no different than the time before. That's why I told you I never noticed any change, because he didn't change from time to time. When I saw him, he was in good spirits. Hutchinson, did Tish Henley accompany you when you went on a tour? The short tour of the house. Kerwin, no. Hutchinson, what was the conversation while she was present, if you recall? Kerwin, she asked me a little bit about myself, other than what she'd already known from what he must have told her before I got there. She showed me her bracelet. We were reading into numerology, and I didn't know at the time. And he and Tish had been going over some things in a book or something. And he asked me when I was born and what the date was. He took a horoscope and he started reading these little things about myself. Would I die for that? Like, would I literally die to have Elvis, like, do my numerology chart? Yes, I absolutely would. So Hutchinson says during this time, and this was about an hour that the visitation ran into, and before it terminated this visit, was there any dispensing of any type of medication to Elvis? Kerwin, no. Hutchinson, when was the next meeting? Kerwin, I talked to him on the phone on the following day. Then the next day we came to Las Vegas. He absolutely was a sweetheart. Can anyone tell me what the issue is here? Sounds like Alicia's testimony is being talked about here, and that it proves X stronger conflicts with X. It's just another documentation of Elvis's history. From a person who spent some time with him, who we hardly ever have heard from, other than the only thing I know where she's spoken is this testimony right here. And so it just gives a different alternative story, a different perspective, which is always important to have a well-rounded perspectives and not just take one person's side. Let's see. So he asked her about the medicine. She says no. Hutchinson, when was the next meeting? I talked to him on the phone on the following day. Then the next day we came to Las Vegas. Hutchinson, all right, now the day after the second visit, you received a telephone call from him. What was the telephone conversation about? Kerwin, he wanted to know if I wanted to come over. Yes, please. Oh, you're welcome, Andreas. Of course. Hutchinson, over to the mansion. And what did you say? Kerwin, I said, no, I had a date. Girl, what are you actually doing right now? Hutchinson, did that upset him any? Kerwin, a little bit. He thought I should break it. Hutchinson, that was more of a letdown to his ego, wasn't it? Kerwin, of course, of course. It was just the regular old, it's the same thing that happens between a man and a woman when they want you to come over and you would say no. He hung up on me. So I was getting ready, and 2 seconds later, he calls back and says, well, what about tomorrow? Sir, I would be like, what about right now? Because I'll be right there. Oh, Angelo, I didn't know you were paralegal. That's awesome. Yeah, these things just they just interest me. And like I said, it's sworn testimony. So you really, it is what it is. I mean, the statements stand for themselves. Hutchinson, he wanted you to come to Graceland the day after. Kerwin, and then I said, well, all right, I'll come after work. In the course of the conversation, he said, do you think you would get a few days off from work? I said, I don't know, but I'll see. And so I arranged it, and we left for Las Vegas on Wednesday night, the following night. Hutchinson, did he say why he wanted you to go to Las Vegas? Kerwin, it was because I had never been there. Oh, Elvis, you little sweet, precious baby doll. I think I might have to flip the slides for y'all. Hutchinson, it was apparent to you on the first meeting in April of 77 that they were getting ready to go on tour. Was this a tour that he was going on? No. Hutchinson, this was just a visit. Kerwin, right. The tour was the following week. Hutchinson, so then the next Wednesday, the day after the telephone conversation, did you go to Las Vegas? Kerwin, Hutchinson, and what time did you leave? Kerwin, we left late at night, and it wasn't real late. It was maybe 11 o'clock. Did he send somebody to pick you up, or did you go out to Graceland? Kerwin, I drove. I always drove. I didn't like the idea of being stranded without my car. Hutchinson, then you went out to the mansion and you've gotten permission from your place of employment to go to Las Vegas. Kerwin, right. Hutchinson, who accompanied you to Las Vegas besides Elvis? Kerwin, Joe and Billy Smith, David Staley and his wife at the time, and I can't remember her name. No, David didn't. All right, Joe and Billy, David and his wife didn't come until the next day. Dick Grobe and Charlie Hodge. Dick, David, and Charlie, that's all. Exactly. I would be pulling, I'd be up in the driveway. Hutchinson, let's just say with that Wednesday, okay, that the day you left, do you recall what type of aircraft you left on? It was one of his smaller planes, the Jetstar. It wasn't the big one. Hutchinson, were you ever introduced to the pilot, Milo High? Kerwin, I can't remember what his name was, but I was introduced to him. Hutchinson, so it was Joe, Billy Smith, Dick Grobe, Charlie Hodge, Elvis Presley, and yourself. Kerwin, right. Hutchinson, and did you carry luggage with you? Alicia nods. I mean, of course she took luggage. I mean, sometimes these people ask the most annoying questions. You're welcome, doll. Hutchinson, and did you notice any luggage like a cosmetic kit or something that Elvis had? Kerwin, yeah. Who maintained possession of it? Remember to flip your page. There we go. Kerwin, I don't know. Billy or Dick, it was kind of one didn't have it, the other one did. Charlie, too. Hutchinson, do you recall about what time you left? Kerwin, I think it was around 11 o'clock because I had gotten off work, gone home, packed a few things, and gotten there. By the time I got to Graceland, we left. It was late. Hutchinson, did you notice the manner or demeanor of Elvis Presley at this time on leaving? Was it any different than the last two meetings? Kerwin, no. Hutchinson, this is what, a 3-hour flight out there, something like that? Kerwin, I went to sleep. I slept the whole time. The whole time I do that. Cute, innocent laughter inserted. Hutchinson, were you offered any type of medication? Kerwin, no, I wasn't. Hutchinson, did you see any dispensing of medication while aboard the aircraft? Kerwin, no, I didn't. I was asleep. From the minute the plane took off and got in the air, I was out like a light. And I didn't wake up until he woke me up when we were there. Can you imagine like being on Elvis's plane going to Vegas and then Elvis wakes you up when you land in Vegas? Like, who else would be dying? Because I would literally be. Yeah, they literally seem so nonchalant, like it's just a random Tuesday and they're going on a plane to Vegas. Hutchinson, there was no medical people aboard. Kerwin, no, just us. Hutchinson, and then all of you, of course, landed at the airport. You went where? Kerwin, to the Hilton. Did everybody stay at the Hilton? And did you stay with Elvis Presley that night at the Hilton in his room? Right. Yeah. Like, where else is she going to stay? Like, in Tahoe? Of course she stayed with Elvis. Hutchinson, all right. That night while you were in his room, did you notice any medications? Kerwin, there were some bottles of pills beside the bed, but I didn't notice anything about it, just a few. It wasn't a lot. I assumed they were sleeping pills. Hutchinson, would you say how many bottles? Kerwin, just 2 or 3. 2 or 3 bottles. Were they completely full of pills? Kerwin, no. Hutchinson, okay. Did you see any hypodermic needles, syringes, or something like that? No, never. And the whole time I knew him, I never saw that. And that is really important when we are reviewing on Elvis A to Z, the Elvis What Happened book. They talk about hypodermics. And I know she's with him for a small window of time, but she did not witness any of this. Let me sleep in that damn room all night with eyes open. Yeah, how everybody describes him. Oh, Rick is here. Let me add him. Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah, I must have missed it.
Buddy.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me mute this one. There we go. All right. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome,
cool.
welcome. Did you get a chance? You got a chance to read through all of it?
I read the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's enlightening, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm learning something new.
Okay, we're on like 128, 129, so you haven't missed too much.
Oh, okay.
So we're just kind of reading through it. I've got it on the stage.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this.
No,
you want to share any thoughts before we continue?
No, I think I'm going to learn some stuff tonight.
Okay. All right. So we're just talking about the part where she says, she didn't see any hypodermic needles the whole time she was with him. Right. And when Elvis What Happened, that's completely, they say the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So I just found that quite interesting. So she says, Hutchinson asked her, do you remember what these pills were for? And she said, I remember talking about it. He either told me they were muscle relaxers or sleeping pills, one of the two. Hutchinson, did he ever offer any to you at this particular time? Kerwin, no. If he needed to sleep, or Kerwin said, if I needed to sleep, there were sleeping pills. I can't remember whether he said it was muscle relaxers and one was sleeping pills or what he said. So if I needed to sleep, but I didn't have any trouble sleeping, I would have had all the trouble sleeping next to Elvis. I'm just saying. Hutchinson, did you notice any of the people along like Joe or Billy Smith or Dick Grove or Charlie Hodge using any type of medication? Kerwin, no. And so he kind of goes back and forth with her still about, I think he's trying to pin her down. Yeah, Amy, I agree. They were lying. I don't believe that either. He keeps re-asking the same questions to see if she's going to slip up and say something different, but she holds to her story. She talks about Dr. Ghanem coming over, and she went shopping with Joe and just seeing the hotels and stuff. And Hutchinson asked if she knew why Ghanem came over. And Kerwin says just to visit. All he did was talk. All he did was just talk to him. And Hutchinson says, do you know if Ghanem was summoned, though? Kerwin, he called him when he got there. Elvis did? The next day. Do you recall the conversation? Elvis said he had someone he wanted him to meet, and he wanted Dr. Ghanem to come over. Did you hear any conversation about I need medication? No, I didn't. So did you meet Ghanem? Yes. I'm trying to just skim through the parts that really aren't. They're kind of redundant. Yeah. At the time you met Ghanem, was he carrying any type of medical bags? I can't recall. I really can't recall whether he had bags with him or not. He came several times while we were there. I know, but I'm talking about the first time though, Alicia. Alicia says, yeah, I don't know. Hutchinson, and honestly, if you're sitting in a room with Elvis, are you going to be paying attention to who's bringing in what bags and what doctors? No, I'm not.
No.
Kerwin, I do recall a friend of Charlie Hodges was there, a girl named Ghanem from Hawaii. There was David and his wife had flown in on the big airplane. They were there. I don't recall whether it was the first time or maybe later that evening or the next day. A cousin of Ghanem's came. I can't remember the name. He was a young kid in his 20s. He came and stayed and talked. And you stayed 3 days? Kerwin, right. So she's with Elvis 3 days in April in Vegas. Where's Ginger?
With her boyfriend.
But they never fought.
No.
They never had an argument. Not one time. Mm-mm.
Yeah, she's 20 years old?
Yeah, everybody has arguments.
Yeah.
Everybody. So she talks about how many times Ghanem came to the suite. She says 3 times. Hutchinson once a day. No, one day he came twice, and he said he had to go make a call. He got a phone call in the suite, and he had to go take care of something for Gladys Knight. So he went and did that and came back. Those visits, were they unannounced visits or were they telephone calls from Elvis to Ghanem? So I think he's trying to lay the groundwork that there was other doctors treating Elvis besides Nick, basically.
That's what I got out of it. Yeah.
So he goes back and forth with the pills and the muscle relaxers, and Billy goes to the store. And I know Ghanem, I think, prescribed a muscle relaxer, but it was only one bottle. I know Billy left, went to the store, and then came back. And I don't think it was exactly what Elvis wanted. Did Elvis get upset? Not really upset. He just said, "Is this all?" So that's another take on this, explosive temper. And if Elvis didn't get what he wanted, he was just beside himself and would shoot things and go ballistic. She's not describing that type of person here, certainly.
No, I didn't get any of that. I'm reading this, but I'm waiting. I'm expecting to hear her say something like, "Man, he really got ticked off when such and such," and it never got there.
It never got to that point. So then he's talking about the pills he took from Ghanem. How many? She didn't know. Were these pills you brought from Memphis, or were there also other pills that Dr. Ghanem had prescribed? She said, "I don't know. Like I said, Ghanem didn't prescribe very many because I saw the package when it came back from the pharmacy. There was maybe 1 or 2 bottles." "Well, you had seen 3 right when you first got," and she corrects him, 2 or 3, I think. "All right, an increase of 2 since Dr. Ghanem was there." Kerwin interjects, "But Hutchinson, and do you know what they were?" "No, but they were muscle relaxers. I remember him saying they were some type of muscle relaxer." "Did Elvis complain to you of sleep problems?" "He was complaining about pulling a muscle in his leg. He had been complaining about it since I met him, since that first night." He asked if Ghanem gave Elvis injections. "No." I'm going to kind of skip around. She talks about him limping a bit. And I think he did have a hamstring injury on that tour before.
Yeah.
That's the leg that was giving him trouble.
Yeah, I vaguely
remember something about that. So then he says, "Did you notice any erratic behavior on Elvis's part in April of 77? "No." "No violence?" "No." "No irritation at people?" "No." "At you or anybody else?" "He was always irritated with me. We argued about what? Just because people would just laugh at his every remark. If he wanted them to laugh, they would. And I sort of picked on him a little bit, or just got him worked up. It was all in good fun." "Explain that, would you?" "Just teasing. I don't know how I can explain to you why. I just tease him a lot. Like, I don't know how to explain that. I just really can't think of any situation. I don't know how to explain it. I was just teasing him." So he said, "Well, what was he doing that he wanted everybody to laugh?" She said, "Oh, no, not at all. You don't understand what I'm saying. If he laughed, everyone else laughed with him. If something was funny or not on TV, whether anyone else thought it was funny, if he laughed, they laughed too. That's just the way it was. I mean, did he get upset if they didn't laugh? No, but that's just the way it was." Isn't that strange? Like, they almost couldn't think for themselves.
Yeah, there was so much of they felt like they had to do that, and I would say I would get more irritated the fact that they were doing that than they were doing that. I mean, guys, cut it out. You don't have to laugh at everything. It's just you're being condescending about it.
Yeah, it's almost just like a bunch of followers, or they wanted bootlickers, as Amy says, sycophants.
Yep.
For grown men, it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
And it's not like he was demanding that they laughed, but there they were.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think this is where. Okay, so she says, "You could tell the change in everyone when he walked in the room. You could tell that he's there, act right. Especially if David Stanley," and I keep thinking there was another person there, but I cannot think of who it was. Like, everybody takes notice when he walks in, which everybody says that.
How can you not?
So she just says, "I just didn't jump at his every beck and call, and he appreciated it very much." Isn't that very different than the usual narrative of we had to do everything he said? Hutchinson, "But there was nothing unusual in this visit to Vegas. No, he was having a good time, and we watched TV, and he smoked cigars." Hutchinson, "Well, that wasn't too much of a trip for you, though, was it? I mean, just to go to Las Vegas, of course, I know, being with Elvis Presley." What is this guy saying? Of course. This was 1980, Amy. I think in the spring of 80. So her memory's still pretty fresh here, too. I mean, it's like a bunch of years later. You have any thoughts you want to interject?
Well, I'm thinking along the line of with the expectation of these guys to think that they had to laugh and they had to just accommodate him with everything and just compliment him. And I think back upon like with Marty Pacetta and with Steve
Yes.
Bender, who just, they weren't worried about it. And Elvis wanted the truth. He wanted people to say,
Mhm.
because he knew people were just bullshitting him all the time. And he didn't want that around. And, after 20 some years of these guys doing the same stuff over and over, I'm surprised he just didn't blow a stack sometimes over it.
Yeah, and I don't blame him the times that he did either, because I would have
No.
been a lot less patient than Elvis. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I think I'm behind them. I'm trying to keep them up on my little slides here so they can read as well. Oh no, I'm behind. Okay, so we're talking about Vegas. And I think it was he's acting like Vegas wasn't too much of a trip. But you're with Elvis in Vegas. So yeah, that was a trip. Sounds like she got along pretty well with Joe, which we know the Smiths talk about her a lot. I think they kept a relationship with her even after Elvis passed away. He said to Joe, and you talk about Elvis after you left to go on the shopping spree. Kerwin, and we talked about him a little bit. She told me a little bit about him, just how he was. Elvis always had a lot of girls around him, but she and I just became friends, just girl talk, nothing important. Hutchinson, well, did she ever tell you or discuss with you that he had a drug problem? Kerwin, no, that was never discussed. Hutchinson, okay, then you came back to Memphis, is that correct? Kerwin, we went to Palm Springs. We left Vegas and went to Palm Springs. Hutchinson, okay, and how long did you stay in Palm Springs? We left on a Saturday morning and we stayed and we got back to Memphis on Monday. So he's gone a week with her by this point.
Mm-hmm.
So again, Ginger doesn't address this in her book at all, does she?
That's what I remember. No.
I don't think she does.
Yeah.
Did you observe any medication while he was out there? Let me back up. The same people went out to Palm Springs. What did you do in Palm Springs? We went to his house there and I laid out at the pool and stayed around the house the whole time. Sandy Miller did a great interview with Rhonda on Presley Mania, and she said that last visit to Palm Springs, there was a girl laying out by the pool, and Elvis introduced her as his new girlfriend. But it wasn't Ginger. So that's just some food for thought. But Sandy could not confirm if it was Alicia. So she talks about him again taking the sleeping medication. She said it could have been a different bottle. I never saw any more come in though. And he goes back to this cosmetic bag and she says, no, I didn't see in it. I know what bag you're talking about, but I never saw inside of it. Do you know who was taking care or who had responsibility for that? No. Was it in the room? No, it wasn't in the room. I remember seeing it getting on and off the airplane, but that's the last time I remember. He asked her again, you haven't seen inside of it? No. She's got patience because I would have just been like, no, dude, I already answered this for you.
Yes, to this point right now, I'm sitting here thinking, whatever medication she saw isn't anything abnormal out of what anybody else that would be needing a muscle relaxant or needing sleeping pills with a career like he had. I mean, it's not like it was. I'm getting the impression she's saying
full of pills. Yeah.
What do they call them? I can't think of it right now. The suitcase of
the suitcase with the lock on it. With thousands of pills in it. Yeah.
The nuclear code keys or something like that.
The keys to the city.
Yeah.
So she says that someone came to visit, but I was laying in the sun, didn't really look to see who it was. It was a man and it could have been a doctor, but I don't really know who. And Hutchinson says, do you recall his name? And she says, no. Well, she just told you she didn't know.
Yeah.
Which I know that's their job to try to trip people up, but I would lose it.
Okay, now I'm going to probably ask a dumb question here.
No, there's no such
so
thing.
This is all new to me. So what is the questioning about? Is this a court case or is this an interviewer? Is this about Dr. Nick or
Dr. Nick? It's a definition for the Dr.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So they're trying to basically lay the groundwork, I think, for other doctors bringing stuff in.
Okay.
At that time.
I thought so. I just want to make sure.
Sure. Kaplan, does that sound familiar? And
yes.
Kerwin, sounds real familiar.
Sorry, I'm answering her question for her.
All right, but he was never introduced to you as a doctor? No. Hutchinson, no, I know he's a doctor. Kaplan it seems like I remember a little short man. I saw him walk by, but I was outside of the pool. Hutchinson, you don't know his reason? Kerwin, I don't. Or were you told later why he was there? I do not ask questions. We like her.
Yeah.
We like her a whole bunch. You can
Yeah.
one over.
Good girl.
Yeah, she is a good girl. That's probably why he liked her around you. Okay, did you notice any behavioral difference in Elvis Presley from Las Vegas to Palm Springs? Only he got upset because he had talked to his father and talked to the colonel, and they were very upset with him because we weren't supposed to be there. Elvis didn't tell them where he was going, and they had been looking for him for 3 days and couldn't find him. So everybody was upset. Good for Elvis. I mean, good for him. And in turn, they had gotten him upset. He was being scolded for taking off without letting anybody know.
Like he's a 10-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm. He told his dad we were going to Nashville and we never made it. Did you know you were going to Nashville? No, Elvis just told. Leave me alone. Let me be. Hutchinson, did you notice a behavioral difference at this time? Kerwin, he just got upset, but it didn't last very long. So there again, where's this volatile, temperamental, explosive person?
Yeah, I haven't seen it at all.
Did you see him take any medication after he got upset? No, he went to his room. Did he stay in his room away from people while you were around him? No. You returned to Memphis, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. On the way back to Memphis, let me flip the page. Did you see any medications? No. And then when I guess I'm just more or less concluding this Palm Springs visit, you returned to Memphis and went back to work. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And when was the next time you heard from Elvis Presley? He called me while he was on tour. He called me several times while he was on tour. Did he say where he was? He did, but like I said, I couldn't tell you. Are we still in April? Yes. When he called, how was his conversation? Alicia, he was fine. It was always in the middle of the night. How did he sound? The same. Again, where's Ginger?
Again with her boyfriend.
I mean,
yeah.
This fits the narrative of Elvis going to Lisa and saying, "Have you seen Ginger? Is she around?"
Yeah,
But Lisa was only 9, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, what the hell would she know, man?
She would know nothing.
She's a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
She barely knew how to add 2 and 2.
So the next time you saw him was the completion of the tour. He called me several times when he was back, and I didn't go see him. It was my sister's birthday. I remember that was the next time I saw him. What was the date of your sister's birthday? I think it was June 9th. Her birthday is the 9th, and on the 11th, I went to see him. He called you, Kerwin. I called him this time. And then she said, I didn't call him. I called Billy Smith because he and Joe's number. I talked to them quite regularly. I needed some papers for the car that he had bought me in Palm Springs, and I asked Billy to get them for me. I said, I do really want to talk to him because I had just made it clear I didn't want that in my life. It was too much for a young kid. Hutchinson, what was that you didn't want? Just the idea of Elvis Presley. Hutchinson, too much. I felt like it was too fast. Just too much to handle. Kerwin, it was way too much. So Elvis called me back a few hours later and wanted to know if I would come to see him. So I said yes. This is on June 11th. So she has a little conjecture back and forth. Billy called her at her parents' house. She talked to Elvis. He wanted her to stop by. So I did, and I stayed. Let me think if anybody came that night. I know I talked to Billy and Joe and her kids for a long time. I talked to Charlie Hodge for a while. So she's at Graceland.
Yeah.
Again, where's Ginger? And then I saw Elvis, and we just talked like usual. He didn't seem to be in a real good mood. He was just depressed. He wished he could go out on a Saturday night like everybody else, and he couldn't, and he was just depressed about it. He liked for you to tell him about places that you went, a club that you would go to. Sorry. He liked for you to describe in detail what it's like to walk in there and how nobody noticed you. But we just talked. And then I went home about 3:00 in the morning, I guess. Did you notice a difference? He just seemed more depressed than I'd ever seen him. He seemed real depressed, and he didn't want me to leave when I left. He liked me to stay right there. When he was ready to go to sleep, he just wanted to make sure that somebody was in the room. This just breaks my heart.
Yeah. He just wanted, and I'll be honest with you. I personally have never one iota ever liked Ginger. And every time I see a picture of her, I rarely ever see a smile on her face. It's almost like I don't, I want the money part, but I don't want the companionship part.
It goes with it. I've gone back and forth on her over the years.
Mm.
I really enjoyed her book, and I thought, she really could have told some
Good
things
story.
that she didn't. But then I think there was some reasons that she didn't, and it probably was self-serving for her. But what really did me in is when Lisa's book came out and the things she allowed to say in her group page. I sent those to you today about Lisa. I'm
Mm.
sorry, Miss Ma'am. Elvis Presley would not stand for that.
Mm.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't. This was closer to the book coming out. That's true, Vangelo. So he was probably emotionally tortured.
So this was April when they first got to get met, him and Alicia.
So this is June. So yeah, he would have known about the book. He probably would have had the manuscript by then.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's meeting. When did he meet Ginger? A year before that?
November of 76.
Yeah, so they hadn't even known each other. They hadn't even been together 5 months. 5 months.
Mm-mm.
And she's already playing that
Not being
spoiled
around.
rotten kid.
So she says she saw him one more time after that. It was in between the last two, or maybe right before the CBS. I don't know when it was. I can't tell you. It was shortly after that, and he called me in the middle of the night. He called you from Graceland? Uh-huh.
I like that. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. He just wanted to know if I would just come up and talk for a bit. His daughter was there, and she'd been up late with him. She had gone to bed, and he wanted maybe to go to sleep, and he wanted to know if I would just come and talk. Yeah. And I had to work the next day. How did he sound on the telephone? He was still depressed. So I went up. He was going to send Dean. Nicopolis was there. He was going to send Dean to get me, and I said, no, just let me drive up there because I've got to work tomorrow. I've got to get ready to go to work early, and I just took my stuff to go to work. I stayed a few hours, and then I had to get ready to leave for work, and he was asleep by the time I left.
I sit here and I look at the situation, and I always try to put myself in those shoes whenever I do this. Of course, I know I'll never get in there, but here's a man who, number one, knows this book's coming out. Number two, he's in a relationship that I don't think he really wanted to be in at this point in time, and he's not feeling well, and he just wants somebody that will listen to him. He didn't want another girlfriend. He didn't want any of that. He just who else was there going to be to talk to? Who did he have?
Clearly, if he's calling Alicia Kerwin in the middle of the night, where is Tish that says, oh, I was his best friend and I was there all the time with him? Where are all these guys who said they had to be there all the time in his beck and call? I mean, no offense to Alicia. Maybe he really liked her, but it seems he's calling someone that's that close to him because he just wants somebody there. It's really sad. Okay, now I gotta make this bigger because I'm blind as a bat. Okay. Sorry.
That's all right. I did too when I was reading it.
Okay. She talks about meeting Nick. Blah blah blah. Who cares about Dr. Nicopolis? We don't need to go into all that. Hawaii trip. Blah 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 blah.
And so she went on that last Hawaii trip with him.
No, she didn't. Ginger did. I think they're just talking about the between times.
Right.
Last time you saw Elvis Presley, stayed up there how many hours? She said 3, maybe 4 o'clock in the morning until 8. Did you notice a physical change? He just seemed depressed. He looked sad. I didn't notice him changing his voice or anything other than that he was sad. But he communicated well, yes, and there was no erratic behavior. Let me make that. Not much. No concern of a change. No, not much of a change. He was just very more or less a mental stage, just depression. He was so sad, very sad. In your conversations with different people in the entourage, was it ever told to you that Ghanem was able to get medication for Elvis or anything that he wanted? No, from what I understood, Dr. Ghanem wasn't giving him that much medication, which really implicates Nick, right? Because they've always blamed Ghanem for this.
Yeah. How easy was that?
But he more or less was putting his foot down. This is referring to Ghanem. What makes you think that? Just like the pills he prescribed for Elvis, when they came back, they weren't what he wanted. When we were together in Las Vegas, Dr. Ghanem had prescribed some muscle relaxers. They were mild from what I understood. Were you ever told the part played by George C. Nicopolis? Do what? Were you ever told in gossip about the role that Dr. Nicopolis played? No. But she assumed. What was your reason for the assumption? Just because that's what everybody said Dr. Nick does, not necessarily around Elvis. Nobody talked about Dr. Nick in those terms as prescribing drugs or anything about that. You just put two and two together. So it goes back and forth. We keep going back to Ghanem, which is crazy. Did Elvis ever discuss Ghanem with you? He was just, they're really trying to pin some stuff on. And here's the good part. I was a 20-year-old girl, and it was just too fast. I had never been used to this. I mean, you stay up all night with people around constantly. It just wasn't what I wanted at this time. And you kind of have to respect her for that.
Yeah, especially a 20-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she could have just pretended to want to be there, and yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of, at that time, being starstruck was would affect a lot of girls that age, especially when you're around someone like Elvis or someone of his, well, not that it would be anybody his stature, but she seemed to have had a level head on her shoulders.
Absolutely. At any time were you out at Elvis's mansion, Graceland, was Ginger Alden ever present too? Oh. She came over once and he wouldn't see her, so she left. She called a lot while I was there.
I love this part.
When she would know I was there, she would ring the phone off the hook. Did you ever personally have any contact with Ginger? I would meet her on the street. I would see her in the clubs quite often.
She saw her meal ticket slipping away.
But we tried to avoid each other as much as possible. I saw her quite a bit. I would see her at least once a week. For some reason, she and I would always cross paths, if not at the stoplight or dress shop, but somewhere. Did Elvis give you gifts during your association with him? Very few that I even accepted. Alicia, I'd like to ask you one final question. Did Elvis Presley ever mention to you that he had cancer? No, he didn't. Did he ever mention to you at any time of his medical problems? No, he didn't. Other than the strained muscle? No, he didn't. Okay, thank you. Oh, I need to make this small.
So that whole interchange right there, really, to me, doesn't really build up any kind of.
How do we get our chat back?
How do we get our chat back? Oh, I don't know.
There we go. I'm learning. Okay.
Connect to chat. Oh, I didn't even connect to the chat. Well, I guess I don't because I'm talking.
Okay, let's try to catch up on comments. I wonder if Ginger was stalking her competition. Yeah. He wanted to be loved for the man he was and not just because he was Elvis.
Yeah. And you saw that many times, like I mentioned earlier. We, with people like Bender and Facetta, he didn't want them looking at him like being afraid to tell him anything. Yeah. And he wanted that from a companion. Not even inside. Yeah, I'm not even talking about the Memphis Mafia and other guys. The person that he was wanting to have I'm not even saying a romantic relationship, just a close relationship. And to me, I always felt, as long as I've known him, that women were the easiest ones for him to talk to. Mm-hmm. And I think that had a lot to do because he was very comfortable, talking to his mother. Right. And there was just a separate type of emotional feeling when you talk to somebody like that, because women seem to have a little more empathy, sympathy. Mm-hmm. And getting it from a 20-year-old surprises me, but still, he wanted to talk to her, and to hell with Ginger.
I mean, this just proves the narrative. She was not not around that much.
It's just another. I haven't listened to the whole thing today. I just don't want an upset stomach. But just what I've heard, the bits and pieces. It's just today was just a bashing of Lisa, and from what I understand, and then not. Ginger can do wrong. Donna couldn't do no wrong, and they're just spewing now because Lisa's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and
it might
she's the
be
only one that can
different for
dispute
her.
these stories.
Yeah, exactly.
But I believe I believe what Alicia's saying here right now.
She would have no reason.
No.
And just to lay the groundwork on this book, because a lot of people are saying, oh, she started doing this book after Ben died. No. She signed the contract for this book in 2018.
Yeah.
She had the bulk of it finished before Benjamin died. So I've seen people who knew her saying, oh, well, this was just from a bad place and whatever. And I also am not going to buy the BS that Priscilla swayed this book, because if you've read this book, that's not possible.
Yeah.
I mean, she goes at Priscilla quite hard in this book.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, her mother didn't want her. Her mother.
Yeah, I don't know if where I read it today, or somebody, you might even send it to me, but the comment was that she wrote that book as a inebriated. What was the verbiage? She was an inebriated drug addict.
Mm-hmm. That was on Ginger's page. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a comment on Ginger's page that she allowed to stay up. So do we really think Elvis would be okay with that?
Yeah, and was Ginger sitting there while she's writing the book?
Right. I mean, people could not like you. That's okay. There's a lot of people that don't like me, and guess how much sleep I lose over it.
Yeah. No, this was interesting. I had never read this before. I know that you shared a lot of this. It may have been the whole thing now that I'm going through this, but it's fascinating.
I mean, it gives a whole different look on that time in his life.
Just when Ginger thinks it's safe to go in the water, here comes Alicia.
You know, I always pull something out of my little files.
Yeah, you do.
I'm trying to find the part in her book where she talks about. Page 53 for reference for those of you who clearly have not read her book. At that point, my dad was dating Ginger Alden. He'd had a bunch of different girlfriends, and I liked most of them. I didn't mind Ginger, but I didn't like her. Nobody did. She was always very sweet to me, which was obvious move unless you were an idiot, but I didn't like that she would upset him. I used to eavesdrop on their phone calls. He had one of those old school phones where the line would light up and you could pick up the other receiver. Those conversations would make me absolutely nuts. She wasn't there for him. I could tell that she didn't love him at all. One time he got in a fight with her, and I remember the sound of his Stutz, his favorite car, as it screeched away, because I knew they had been fighting when I heard him take off at high speed out of the gate. I remember him asking me, have you seen Ginger? Is she around? Where is she? I don't know where she is, I said. She was driving him crazy, playing him hard. She would be there for him 1 minute and then gone. One day, I went with her to go visit her family. I didn't tell him I was going, but I told other people, and she wanted to take me, so I thought it was okay. When I got back, he was mad, and that wrecked me. That whole relationship was so tumultuous.
You know, Donna, for the infinite stupidity that she has, kids, to me, and this is just my belief and experience, kids, they are more perceptive to feelings and emotions and what's going on around them than adults are, because by the time people get older, they start becoming numb to stuff. Exactly. And they don't acknowledge it. Well, kids are very sensitive to it right off the bat. They can tell when their parents have been fighting when they never even fought in front of them. They just sense that. And Lisa sensed every bit of that. There's no doubt in my mind. She knew. And that, what was it Lisa said? She tolerated her but didn't like her. Yeah. Well, I would say she did that because all she knew that Ginger upset her father. There was no fighting or physical type of stuff that I know of that she ever saw, but just that whole interaction and the perception. It's like I said, I very rarely saw any pictures where she smiled when she's standing with him and smile. It's like at the CBS special when he introduces, stands up. She doesn't smile once. No. Or she does. It's a forced one. I mean, geez, he introduces you on live, on a recorded show, a special, and you won't even freaking smile. You act like, oh man, you just bothered me.
I mean, but in her defense, she could have been, I'm on TV and I'm freaked out.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe for her defense on that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find. So she, Ginger also says they always got along, and there was never any issue with her and Lisa. Well, the wonderful Donna Lewis, the queen of documenting everything in real time in her diaries. The entry from Saturday, June 11th, 77. Daddy said he didn't see Elvis at all last night. Ginger brought Lisa in. They must have been ticked off at each other. Ginger got out of the car and slammed her door shut and gave Lisa a cold stare. Daddy said Lisa wasn't fazed in the least. She took both of her hands and slammed her car door. Lisa then gave Ginger a cold look and was staring her down. Daddy said Ginger turned around and went into the house.
Yeah.
Again, everybody has disagreements. So this narrative she's pulling, nobody ever fought, and it was all fa la la, and no, you'd be better off to just be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is. I'm gonna read this whole book. It's got me peaked now. Of course, I've got like 3 books going right now, but this will be a nice, quick one for me to read and get the whole thing.
It's really interesting when you go through all of it and just timeline things up. Plus April 77 was when Priscilla put the lien on Graceland. I'm sure he knew the book was coming. I mean, there was just so much going on in that man's life. And all he wanted was somebody to be there. How hard is that?
And I don't, they say that he was all excited about the tour, but, I don't know how excited he really was, other than the fact that he was going to get to be in front of the people that loved him the most.
Yeah. I think he would have obviously had some nerves about it, considering.
Yeah.
What was coming? Angela, that was Donna Lewis, volume 3 of her book. And she had no reason to lie. I mean, she was documenting her stuff in real time.
Well, she's one of the most straightforward people I've ever been aware of.
It's true. By Lisa at 9 was more intelligent than the adults around her. Yeah.
Yeah, especially one. Unbelievable. But I want to.
Final thoughts before we end. I think we got.
No, this is interesting. I come to the conclusion at the end of this that this Hutchinson really didn't get what he really wanted very much against Nicopolis. But I don't know. I find it really interesting because I've never read any of this before. I've heard of her, but I never read the story, and now I'm interested.
Everybody likes to tell her story, and the Ginger side uses, well, she wasn't going on that last tour. Right, she wasn't. But there's a lot more of that testimony than just that.
Yeah, for the longest time, every time I heard the name Alicia Kerwin, for some reason, and this is just because I never really did much, I'm not going to say the word, inquisitive asking. I always associated Alicia Kerwin with that girl that died when they took that picture on the back of the motorcycle. She died a day or.
Oh, that's Kathleen Self. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, for some reason, just connected the name to her. But then when I'm reading this, I go, well, this certainly ain't her.
Because they're very similar. They're very similar in look, that dark hair, and yeah.
No, it's interesting.
Yeah, Angela, if you don't have Donna Lewis's books, they're fantastic. It just fills in the holes of things that, like how Priscilla says she was there when Elvis fell and hit his head in 67. Donna Lewis says they left and they were flying out to LA to be with Elvis. She wasn't there.
What movie was that? Clambake?
Clambake, yeah.
Yeah, she was everywhere, man.
Priscilla was there for all of it.
She witnessed everything.
Yes, this is Andreas. This was a deposition prior to the court case. She was being deposed for the Dr. Nick trial.
Yeah. He wound up losing his license. I don't think he ever did any time.
He didn't. I think he ended up. You're welcome. I think Jerry Lee Lewis is what finally got him hemmed up, but he just lost his license.
Yeah, boy, he was popular than him, wasn't he? I saw that list of pills that he was sending to him. Anyway. No, this is good. Thanks for asking me.
D'Angelo says, Rick, I'm going to send you an email. Share with Amy. It's a story from Elvis and Memphis Mafia about that Palm Springs trip. Alicia's testimony proves what I thought.
Okay, yeah, do that.
It's all pieces of the puzzle. Like you find a piece and it goes with this piece, and that's how you figure out. That's why you have to read all the books and all the things to figure out what is true and what's not true.
If I only knew how to read books.
If I only had a brain. Well, guys, thanks for coming on my first. I had 32 people. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is fun. I learned something and I enjoyed the conversation. The conversation because I learned that Alicia Kerwin was not. What was her name?
Kathleen Self.
Kathleen Self. That's a sad story.
So sad. I think he really liked her, and I think if she hadn't passed, we might not have had a Linda Thompson.
Yeah. But I tell you what, I like reading this to the aspect that it really puts a few people in their place.
Yeah, it does. I had to say it before this ends with the glass slippers. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Okay.
On the new lives.
So
we got Lisa Marie tomorrow, so that'll be got our book tomorrow, so that'll kind of carry it on.
I'll be on the last half of it. I'll get home about 3, so I'll jump on.
Okay.
And then Friday we'll have what happened.
Yeah, I got it all set and ready to go, and then we'll do what's happening again on Friday. Normal stuff, back to routine. Good seeing good seeing you all. Names all look familiar.
Everybody. So, all right. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for coming on, Rick.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry I was a little late.
Oh, it's all good.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.